baby. Not a big one, but he is a pretty one nonetheless. Striper.
Striper?
Smoke it won't go, I bet.
Striper? Big old striper. That's what I was wondering. Ready? Got him?
Dang, boys, finally catch a largemouth. Hey guys, how are you all today? Thanks for taking the time to click on a video and see what we're up to here in the office. Greatly appreciate your support. Today I want to talk to you about something that you've probably already been doing, whether back in the fall or over the winter, but this is the time of year where it really picks up for me. February and March, and a little bit into April. This bait has been exposed as a bait now that can be used year-round, especially with the advent of forward-facing sonar. It used to be more of a cold water application. Late fall, through the winter, early spring, predominantly focused pre-spawn. And that is a jerkbait. Now, there's a few things that I kind of do with a jerkbait that I feel make a big difference as far as getting bites. So I fish this, in a lot of the areas that we've covered in past videos. Video the other day about riprap and flatter points whenever the water's warming. We've talked about channel swings. This bait will come into play for me all winter long, all the way through the spring until spawn. And I may still even throw it a little bit post-spawn as well. Now, there are so many different variations of jerkbaits out there. Colors, body shapes, suspending, floating, sinking. There's all kinds of different ones out there. Now, I predominantly carry three types of jerkbaits. I don't really mess with too many floating jerkbaits, and that may be a dumb move on my part, but mostly I'm going to deal with a slow rising, a dead neutral suspending jerkbait, and a slow sinking jerkbait. Those are the three that I'm going to cover for different, water conditions and different depths. So this one here is a Rapala Shadow Wrap Deep. This is a bait that I'm going to cover in that 8 to 12 foot range. Now, remember when you're fishing a jerkbait, if you see fish on your graph and let's say they're 15 foot down and you're fishing water that's relatively clear, this would be the jerkbait you would want to fish. One that's going to get down to that 8 foot range, 10 foot range, because suspended fish feed up. They feed above their head. So you never want to have your jerkbait below the bass, always above the bass. Predominantly with a jerkbait, we are fishing for suspended fish. That's not always the case if you're throwing one shallow, I understand, but there's much better solutions for those shallow fish, such as a flat-sided crankbait. So always remember you want to match your jerkbait to the depth that the fish are, what you're seeing on your locators, on your graphs. So deeper than 10 foot, I'm going with the Shadow Wrap Deep. Now, then you have other styles. You've got 2-hook, you've got 3-hook. I predominantly like a 2-hook model, but when I go to a deeper jerkbait, I will go to a 3-hook. What I will do though is I change these hooks out to a light wire hook. The reasoning for that is there's a lot going on here. When I fish this deep around, say, timber or stumps or something of that nature, this bait tends to get hung up a little bit, and it is out of my reach to free it up a lot of times. Whereas a jerkbait that only, dives, say, 4 feet, I can get a rod tip down to it and kind of work that bait loose. So by going to a lighter wire hook, if I do hang it into a piece of standing timber, a lot of times I can straighten this hook out before I pop my line. That's why I go with a thinner wire hook. Also, I do feel like you just get better hook penetration, especially if the bite is really, really finicky. And I'll do the same thing with a 2-hook jerkbait. If they're biting it really funny, I will go to a light wire hook. I just feel like the hook penetration is a lot better. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this, there again, the one that's deeper. I don't necessarily always do it on my shallower ones, but definitely the deeper ones. I'm going to throw this with a Norman speed clip. Now that Norman speed clip allows me to do a couple things. One, it allows me to play with color, change baits out super, super quick. But it allows free range of motion on that split ring, which is going to give me that kind of darting action. It's going to make that bait kind of quiver because I don't have line resistance on that split ring. There's a few of the reasons that I use that speed clip. So some things to keep in mind there. Now, this is just a KVD, Strike King KVD 2-hook model. I don't do a lot to this. This bait here is pretty much take it out of the package and chuck it. Now, occasionally I'll change these hooks out to a little lighter wire. Not something that I do unless, if, like I said, the bite's pretty finicky. But now let's get down to line size. So to achieve certain depths, we need to focus on line diameter. So this is a 4-foot diving jerkbait. And let's say I want to get it down to 6 feet. I'm going to downsize this line. What I predominantly would throw this jerkbait on is 12-pound Seagar red label fluorocarbon. I'll downsize it to 10, or I may even downsize it to 8 to get this jerkbait to go just a little bit deeper. If I want that jerkbait to stay a little higher, I'm fishing a little shallower, I may go up to a 14 or even 16-pound fluorocarbon to get that bait to float a little bit higher. I wouldn't throw it on mono. I don't recommend doing that. Too much stretch. I've tried it before when I'm fishing shallower with a jerkbait and lost a lot of fish. And I'm going to put that on a 7-foot medium fast rod. This rod's got nice give in it, nice tip, good backbone, but I can really snap that rod tip whenever I want to get that bait really, really moving. So cadence is something else you hear a ton of when you're talking about fishing a jerkbait. And cadence is nothing more than the relative action of the bait in the series of which you work it. So, if you're snapping the rod twice, snap, snap, pause, snap, snap, pause, you can change that up. You get that side-to-side action, pause, side-to-side action, pause. But you can change that up, and every day is different. I promise you, there is no secret cadence that works every time. I typically will go with just a couple twitches and a pause, a couple twitches and a pause. If fish are a little bit more aggressive, I'm going to shorten the time between pauses. I may pause for 10 seconds when the water's super, super cold. If my bites are coming on the pause, then I know I kind of have that cadence lined out. But if they are biting it as the bait takes off and they're only getting the back hook, then I know I may need to slow down or in some cases speed up. When a fish eats a jerkbait like this, sideways, we know that fish has eaten that bait on the pause. Bass like to eat shad head first because of their dorsal spines. So a lot of times they will actually slap at this bait, hit it to kill it, and then they want to actually ingest the bait head first. So whenever you get a fish that actually has the jerkbait sideways, he's hitting that bait on the paws, trying to kill it. And that's where a lot of times you'll have that bait come up sideways in their mouth. If it's just on the back hook, a lot of times that's a fish coming up from behind. So there's a couple things you can do to kind of play with that and see what might make a difference. One, you can change your profile from a slow rise to a slow sink, or a, just straight suspending jerkbait. I have found that whenever bass are hitting it on the paws, I'm not going to monkey with anything. I'm confident that they're dialing into it, they're going to eat it. So I'm not going to monkey with anything. If I'm getting a lot of fish on the back hook, a lot of times I will switch to a slow sinking jerkbait that will fall tail down. And a lot of times when I go to twitch, it keeps the head up. When that bait flashes sideways, a lot of times they will then eat it. So cadence big, your depth is big, your line diameter is big. The next thing to get into is color. I keep it pretty daggone simple. I stick with shad patterns. I kind of keep a standard gizzard shad pattern that I'm going to throw in cleaner water. And then I keep something that's got a little chartreuse in it, like this one here does, for something that's a little bit dirtier water. Got some white in the back, just good visibility in dirtier water. And then I'm going to keep a couple that are nearly transparent for super, super clear water. You're not going to see me chuck them very much. I try to find the water that's in between. I don't want mud. I don't want super clean. I kind of like that, 2-3 foot of visibility. Seems to be what produces a good jerkbait bite for me. So guys, that's a little food for thought. I know that's kind of technical, breaking down the jerkbaits on different ways, and I could do a whole hour video on different little things I do, but I just wanted to point out the obvious, especially for someone who's maybe not fished a jerkbait much: cadence, line diameter, and what profile you're fishing, whether it be slow sinking, slow rising, or neutral suspending. All of those things matter, and they're to be used in different situations. But always remember to keep that jerkbait over their head. I've thrown them before underneath of them, and you do not get the bites. And that's before I knew that you want to keep it over their head. But those are things that I've learned over the years. Take those with you out on the water. Hopefully you could go out and sack you a few up. If you do, send me some pictures. You can message me through Facebook. It's So In Outdoors on Facebook. Love to see them. Love to hear from you. Once again, guys, we appreciate your support. If you're new to the channel, take the time, hit that like button. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a great week.